Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all our witnesses for your testimony today. Let me start with Advisor Ben Cosme, and am I pronouncing that right, Mr. Ben Cosme? Oh, thank you very much, and thanks for your service and your testimony where you rightly point out that the PRC continues to undermine Hong Kong's autonomy and civil liberties despite its obligations under the Joint Declaration and international law. My question to you is about the Biden administration's policy specifically related to Hong Kong. What is the administration's policy in response to China's violation of international law and anti-democratic aggression in Hong Kong? You testified that we will examine all available policy tools to promote accountability for the Beijing and Hong Kong officials responsible. Also, the administration issued a document, the Interim National Security Strategic Guidance, and in that document, the Biden administration committed to working alongside allies to, quote, stand up for democracy and human rights in Hong Kong. I applaud the administration for those statements, but can you give me some more specifics? What is the policy specifically to support pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong, and given Hong Kong's authorities against opposition figures and Beijing's tightening control of Hong Kong's elected bodies, is Hong Kong a lost cause, or what is it that we can do to respond to Chinese aggression there?
Thank you for that question. I'll start off and then maybe turn to Pete S. Busby in case I forgot anything. But I think you're absolutely right that our strategy and lines of efforts include, one, increasing partners and allies, condemning the recent actions in sort of degrading the autonomy in Hong Kong. That includes getting countries like the UK, European partners, as well as Canada and others to really speak out against human rights abuses in Hong Kong. Second, it also means imposing costs for abusers, whether they be Chinese or Hong Kong officials. So, for example, earlier this year we imposed sanctions on individuals and making sure that they don't continue to act with impunity. And third, whenever possible, supporting activists and the Hong Kong people, whether it's through civil society support or through those who are trying to flee, sort of the clause of the national security law. So, turn over to Pete S. Busby in case there's anything else.
No, nothing to add. Francisco, I think you covered it well.
Yeah, thanks to both of you. And the sanctions piece, I think, is important. Supporting civil society, supporting those opposition figures in Hong Kong, important. I do hope there is a future for peaceful political opposition in Hong Kong, and I hope it is not a lost cause. Let me turn to Taiwan. We don't want what happened in Hong Kong and the national security law there to happen to Taiwan. The lifting of the restrictions on pork imports from the United States was seen as a good faith step by the Taiwanese to work towards a more comprehensive trade deal with the United States. Secretary Blinken confirmed with me yesterday that indeed the Biden administration and Trade Representative Tai will be working towards perhaps a bilateral agreement there. The CCP would obviously not want to see a bilateral trade deal between the United States and Taiwan. Are we seeing the CCP attempt to influence the upcoming referendum on this, on the restrictions on pork imports? Are we seeing the CCP attempt to influence that? Are we seeing the CCP attempting to undermine the potential for trade talks?
I personally don't know the answer to that, Congressman. We'll need to get back to you. I can say that the CCP definitely sought to influence the recent presidential elections in Taiwan, and we worked closely with the authorities in Taiwan to help them push back against that, and they did so more successfully than many other governments in the world have done.
Thank you. And real quick, Dean Thompson, what do our Export-Import Bank and Development Finance Corporation, do they have access to intel to better counter Belt and Road? Do they have access to the intel on countering those investments with investments of their own?
Congressman, thank you for the question. I believe they do, and we work very closely with them to look at ways to leverage what they can bring to the table, both in terms of direct financing as well as leveraging other capital that may be out there.
I think DFC and XM are important tools in countering Belt and Road. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. You go back.
Great, thank you.